Mother Russia Bleeds. Hello again, I am Blunty, and this is one of those brand new games that tries real hard to look like a quarter-decade old game. And I was sent a code to Mother Russia Bleeds to try it out ahead of its launch today. This game is trying so hard to pay tribute to 25-year-old games, it even has an option in the menus that distorts the screen, and adding in artificial scan lines in an effort to make it look like it's playing on a crappy old CRT screen. Now, I personally am very much over the retro pixel art fad. Once upon a time it was novel, nostalgic even, and occasionally it provided a real creative curb against which some truly beautiful art came out of. This game isn't that. This game isn't art. But what this game does do for me is refresh one of my favourite game types from back in the day, the side-scrolling beat-em-up. Some of my favourites include Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade, Double Dragon 2, Streets of Rage, Alien vs Predator, all classics in their own right, and most of them hold up pretty well after all this time even today. Mother Russia Bleeds takes this core gameplay, wraps a basic story around it about some Russian dudes being experimented on by a mysterious agency, pumping them up with strange MacGuffin drugs that are super addictive but also provide brief stints of hyped up reflexes and punching power. And if you wish to stay alive and refresh your health bar and get that power up boost from time to time, you have to continually harvest more of the drug from the twitching bodies of your defeated foes. And I have to admit, all of that is a rather interesting way to approach the whole power-up thing. No more roast chickens hiding in barrels or lying around on the floor, I guess. As you may have already picked up on, it's a tad more brutal, gory, and gratuitous in its application of violence than the early 90s 16-bit beat-em-up games that inspired it. As in almost all such games, there are weapons and pickups scattered around on the ground, or removed from the hands of opponents. Pick them up for a few hits until the weapon degrades and breaks, and you get some extra power, or extra reach, or you can throw the items at your opponents to knock them to the ground. Except now, of course, with the brutal dial wound up to 11, it's all a bit more visceral. And frankly, that does make it a bit more fun. And not just because of, hooray, ultra-violence, but it's a layer of novelty that helps push what is a pretty by-the-numbers genre gameplay style out to something just a little bit more fresh. There are, of course, several different characters to play as, and of course, local co-op multiplayer for up to 4 players is there, as indeed all the best ones of the genre do. I quite like the art style, it's really nicely done. Stage art backdrops feel well crafted. Bashing through walls and doors is always a gutturally pleasant thing. The animation, as deliberately low frame rate as it is, feels fluid and natural. Something that can't be said about some of its 90s peers, in fact. Even some of the best ones had punching kick animations that bordered on the comically dumb and stiff looking. The music is pretty good, but not fantastic, and the sound effects are all pretty genre-appropriate and thumpy. It is so loyal to the genre, in fact, it even suffers from the same annoying fault as many of its kind, that being hits often don't land unless you are perfectly level with the opponent, which has always kind of annoyed me about these games, if I'm honest with you. The difficulty ramps up fairly aggressively, and all in all, while not an especially deep experience, it is a very enjoyable trip back to some classic arcadey action. Only from a world where the media never really made a big deal about the blood in Mortal Kombat. It should be available on Steam as of right about right now, and for just $15. It's pure psychology here, but I'd like to have seen it at the $10 mark. But, you know, if you want to play a game like this, you already know it, and all you needed from me is to confirm that it runs well, and feels like it should feel, and controls like it should control, and to get some eyes on with some real-world gameplay outside of the awesome, but highly kinetically edited trailer. And the verdict is, yeah, it's pretty good actually, well worth a look. And hey, if you're too young to have churned $1 into an arcade machine back in the early 90s for 3 credits on Streets of Rage 2, then here's a modern window into why I, and many like me, spent half of our pocket money playing it down at the local video rental store every weekend. In fact, come to think of it, there was also a Streets of Rage 2 machine down at the local fish and chips store we went to on Sundays, until it was replaced with an X-Men Children of the Atom machine, of course, but that's a whole different story. But thanks for watching, I am Blunty, and I will catch you next time.